I stayed in a relationship that was making me disappear, and the scariest part is that I knew it. I knew it for a long time before I did anything about it. And the reason I stayed was not love. It was fear. Plain, quiet, suffocating fear of what would be left if I let go. My name is Lily. I am 29 now. And what I am about to tell you is something I have never said out loud in full to anyone. I met Jake when I was 24. He was 26, easy to talk to, funny in a way that made rooms warmer. In the beginning everything felt simple and light. He remembered small things I mentioned in passing. He made me feel like I was interesting and worth paying attention to. I had not felt that in a long time, so I held onto it tightly, maybe too tightly, without realizing I was already preparing for loss before we had even properly begun. The first year was good. Genuinely good. But somewhere in the second year something started shifting in a way I could feel but couldn't fully name. The warmth became inconsistent. The attention that had felt so steady started coming and going without explanation. Some weeks he was fully present and I felt safe. Other weeks I felt like I was standing just outside a door I couldn't open, waiting to be let back in. I told myself relationships go through phases. I told myself I was being too sensitive. I told myself that if I was just a little more patient, a little less needy, a little easier to be around, things would settle. I kept telling myself that for almost 2 years. What I didn't see then, and see so clearly now, is that I had started organizing my entire inner life around managing his moods. When he was warm I felt relief, not happiness, relief. When he was distant I spent hours trying to work out what I had done. I stopped making plans without checking his energy first. I stopped talking about things that mattered to me because certain topics made him go quiet in a way that unsettled me for days. I was shrinking, steadily, quietly, in ways I couldn't fully measure because it happened so slowly. But I stayed, because the alternative felt worse. I want to ask you something right now and I really want you to sit with it. Have you ever chosen familiar pain over unfamiliar freedom? Have you ever stayed somewhere that cost you pieces of yourself because at least you knew what to expect there? Because that is exactly where I was. The relationship was painful but it was known. Being alone felt like falling into something I couldn't predict. And my mind had decided that known pain was safer than unknown peace. That thinking kept me stuck for a long time. My friend Sam, who was 30 at the time, noticed things before I was ready to. She never pushed. She was careful in the way that good friends are, asking small questions that left doors open without forcing me through them. I always gave her the shorter version of things. The managed version. I was fine. We were working through it. All relationships have rough patches. What happened next was something I did not plan and did not see coming. It was an ordinary Tuesday evening. Jake and I had not argued. Nothing dramatic had happened. We were sitting in the same room, him watching something on his phone, me reading a book I wasn't actually absorbing. And I looked up at him and had a thought so quiet and so clear it startled me. I thought, I am lonely. Right now, sitting next to him, I am the loneliest I have ever been. That thought sat in the center of my chest like something solid. I didn't say it out loud. I put my book down and looked at the wall and just let it be there. Because it was true. It was the truest thing I had felt in months. I was lonely inside this relationship in a way I had never been when I was actually alone. And I had been choosing this. Over and over, every day, I had been choosing this because I was afraid of what leaving would feel like. But in that moment I understood something that changed everything. Being alone and being lonely are not the same thing. I had confused them for years. I thought if I left I would feel lonely. But I was already lonely. I was deeply, exhaustingly lonely, and I was doing it inside a relationship I was clinging to out of fear. The thing I was most afraid of was already happening. I just hadn't let myself see it clearly until that moment. The next few weeks were not dramatic. I didn't make any immediate decisions. But something had shifted internally and I couldn't shift it back. I started paying attention to myself in a way I hadn't for a long time. How did I actually feel after conversations with Jake? What did I notice in my body when he walked into the room? Was there ease there? Was there safety? Was there any version of peace? The honest answers were hard to sit with. I also started noticing, for the first time, what I had given up over the past 2 years without realizing I was giving it up. I used to write. Small things, journal entries, observations, nothing serious, but it had always been a way of processing the world. I had stopped completely. I used to spend Sunday mornings slowly, reading and making coffee and not rushing anything. That had disappeared too. I used to call my sister Claire, who was 32, just to talk. Those calls had become shorter and less frequent until they were barely happening at all. I had replaced all of those things with the endless low-level work of managing a relationship that never quite felt stable. That was where all my energy had been going. Not into living, into maintaining. Then something happened that I still think about. I called Claire one evening, properly called her, not the rushed version but the real one. We talked for almost 2 hours. At some point she asked me how I was, not the surface version but the real version, and something in the way she asked it made me answer honestly for the first time in a long time. I told her I was tired. I told her I felt like I had been trying to hold something together with my bare hands for 2 years and I wasn't sure what I was even holding anymore. I told her about that Tuesday evening. About the thought that had surfaced. About the loneliness I had been sitting inside. She didn't tell me what to do. She just said, "Lily, you deserve to feel at home somewhere." That's not too much to want. That sentence landed somewhere deep. Because I had stopped believing that. Somewhere along the way I had decided that wanting to feel at ease in my own relationship was asking for too much. That comfort and consistency were luxuries. That real love was supposed to require this much effort just to feel okay. But hearing it said so simply, "You deserve to feel at home somewhere," I understood that I had been accepting far less than that is normal for a very long time. I ended the relationship 3 weeks later. I want to be honest and tell you it was not a clean or easy conversation. Jake was hurt. I was not without feeling either. 2.5 years of shared life does not end without weight. I cried. A lot. Not all of it was grief about him. Some of it was grief about the version of myself I had let quietly disappear while I was focused on keeping him close. The weeks after were strange. I had been so afraid of this feeling, of the empty space, of the silence in the apartment, of weekends with no default plan, that I had used that fear to keep myself in something that was slowly wearing me down. And now I was in it. The thing I had been avoiding. And I waited for it to feel as catastrophic as I had imagined. It didn't. It felt hard. It felt quiet. It felt unfamiliar. But it did not feel like falling. It felt more like finally standing still after running for a very long time. I started doing small things again. I wrote in the mornings. I called Claire more. I made Sunday slow again. I said yes to things I had been quietly declining because my energy had always been elsewhere. Nothing dramatic. Just small reclamations of a life that had been waiting for me to come back to it. Sam came over one evening, about a month after the breakup, and we sat on my kitchen floor eating noodles out of takeaway containers and talking for hours. And I laughed. A real laugh, the kind that surprises you. And I thought, this is the thing I was so afraid of losing. This feeling of just being in my own life without bracing for something. I am 29 now and I live alone, and some evenings are quiet in a way that used to frighten me. But quiet and lonely are not the same thing either. I have learned to tell the difference. If you are in something right now that is costing you more than it is giving you, I am not here to tell you what to do. Only you know the full picture of your life. But I want to ask you honestly, is the fear of being alone the reason you are staying? Because if it is, I want you to hear this clearly. The loneliness you are afraid of might already be the thing you are living inside. You deserve to feel at home somewhere. In a relationship, in a friendship, in your own life. That is not too much to want. It is the most basic thing. And it is yours to have. Leave a comment below and tell me if any part of this felt familiar. Tell me what you are holding onto and why. This is a space where that honesty is safe. If this story reached something in you, please share it. Someone in your life might need these words today more than you know. Like this video, subscribe to Untold Perspectives, and stay with us. There are more stories here waiting to be told.